The Big Dog Postgame Show is brought to you by Viener X Consulting. We make your company work. And by Rick Jacklich, the big dog himself, at the Jacklich Law Group.
From the deck at Gossett, this is the Big Dog Postgame Show. I'm Wayne Viener. That's Wheels, Tony Wheeler, Bruce, and Mason away from the camera this week. Maryland dominates Air Force 13-5, but really when the game was going on, Maryland only gives up 2 goals. I'm going to throw the classic Bruce question to you. What did you make of what you saw today?
A little bit of a strange game. And Coach Tillman talked about it in his post-game press conference about there being a real weird flow to it. Some of that had to do with there was a clock issue in the stadium that the NCAA manages in games for the tournament. And that kind of chopped things up in the first half. And then a lot of weird turnovers until Maryland could finally go on an 8-0 kind of run. They held Air Force scoreless for almost 21 minutes, spanning the second and third quarters. And by then, Maryland's just too deep. They're too experienced. They got too much talent. Wore them down.
Yep, and Tills brought up the 32 players. He played everybody that he could, including Brian Ruppel.
Yes.
Even got in there at the end for Logan after Logan tried to do his impression of Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson and tried to weave his way 50 yards downfield. And even then, Tills finally said, that's enough. Eric Spanos, absolutely dominant today.
Yeah.
6 goals.
The one goal that's going to stand out, and I'm sure it's going to be included in your post-game clips here. He gets behind the goal, hangs up a defenseman, a short stick defenseman in front of the goal, and clears out. The whole team clears out for him. He makes a strong move up the field, puts his shoulder down, literally knocked the kid back, a yard, and then did one-on-one with the goalie. He just wanted the ball today, and he took over. He took over the game.
The rest of the goals spread out, a Maryland tradition. Daniel Kelly gets a couple, Urksa, Whittier, Keegan, Bryce Ford, and then somebody you don't see much, Noah Armitage gets in and scores when Spanos, I guess, didn't score his 7th, gives Armitage his 1st.
Spanos gets triple teamed. They can't displace the ball from him. He still gets a shot off, hits the goal, bounces right to Armitage. Stony Brook transfer, 5th-year guy out of Western Canada, started the season out playing on the man-up unit, and as that man-up unit wasn't functioning so well, they started to make some changes. Really hasn't had a bunch of opportunities to play. Finally gets in, gets that lucky bounce, gets a goal. And these are the kinds of things you never know where that kind of momentum leads players, especially as you said, 32-player limit. Who knows? Now you got a big left-handed shooter. If teams want to start playing zone into the playoffs here, you start rolling him out. Maybe seeing that ball go in the net really gets him going.
Well, I think it's nice to be able to get everybody you might play into some game action. And as you said, you don't know who's going to get hurt. That's the first thing when Logan took off. You're like, oh no, what if he pulls something? And then later, or actually a few minutes before that, A.J. Larkin goes tumbling down with what looks like a hamstring pull, but he said he's okay. I asked him about that after the game. We're going to be back to talk about the defense and Logan's great performance today. This is the Big Dog Postgame Show. We will be back in College Park in a moment.
The Big Dog Postgame Show is brought to you by the big dog himself, Rick Jacklich at the Jacklich Law Group, and by Viener X Consulting. If you need internet, don't pay the rack rate, pay the insider rate with Viener X. And we will be back in College Park after we talk to Bruce Posner. Bruce, what did you see out there today?
All right, here in the TerpTalk studio, Wayne, you saw the game. Eric Spanos was just unbelievable. I don't know how else to put it. And up 6 goals, most of them just out-physicaled the opponents. And Air Force just did not have it to play with Maryland. Not many teams can, but, you saw what could happen with Ohio State. I was flabbergasted by Ohio State getting beat the way they did, but so much. It's Notre Dame, 2-time defending champion. It was a tough draw for them. But Maryland was just too tough today. Offensively and defensively, Logan McNanny was just about unstoppable. Brian Ruppel came in the fourth quarter, get some PT, and listen, to Tillman's credit, he emptied the bench. I mean, he had everybody in there, numbers we haven't seen, and even Noah Armitage picked up a goal, portal transfer that just hadn't seen much time this year. But they're all part of the program. Okay, saw a little run from Luca Ward, number 77, even in the first half. But
All right, a first for me. I'm not seeing number 77, Luca Ward, on the field, and now we're in tournament time, and here you are. What was your path to getting on the field today?
Yeah, just working hard all week and having the trust of my teammates. They believe in me a lot, and also trusting them. And my coaches allow me the opportunity to put me on the field. So just try to make the most of it.
Anything behind the number 77?
Yeah, I mean, I wore it in high school. It's been a tradition in Montclair, at Montclair High School. Kind of started back in the 80s and 70s with Pete Von Hoffen, so it's kind of been passed down. So I just wanted to keep it.
Spanos was great. Game opens up with what else? Daniel Kelly knocking one in from the distance, sharpshooter. I think he was 2 for 3 from the field. And he's been great. I think he's been 10 of 15 the last 3 games is what I heard. He's been super, but the whole team has been. And it was a dominating performance, offensive, defensively. Hats off to Shake Heather for dominating the X, supported by Jonah Carrier. But every phase of the game, it was Maryland today. And now we got Kevin Warren, all right, our great friend, former assistant coach to Coach Tillman, and the Georgetown Hoyas and Aiden Carroll. What a great team that just really dominated Duke. Not to my surprise, I picked them. I picked Georgetown to beat Duke. I'm pretty confident about it. I also picked Richmond to beat Carolina.
Smart businesses don't pay retail for internet. Yours shouldn't either. When you call Verizon or Comcast directly, you're paying rack rate, the highest price on the menu. What most businesses don't realize is there's a better deal. Big companies don't pay retail, they get internal pricing. And now you have access to that internal pricing. You can save 30 to 40% on your monthly internet bill while getting a faster connection and better service. Are you ready to stop overpaying? Call Viener X at 877-797-8776 or take a look at VienerX.com. We make your company work. Back on the deck, Maryland 13-5. They play Georgetown a week from today. That's going to be a big one. Tills gets to go back and play at Navy, plays against his friend Kevin Warren. It's Maryland, Georgetown, and it's a big deal in lacrosse. It's a big deal in basketball. It's a big deal. Logan was fantastic. Many of those shots, he beat the offensive player's move. His mirroring was fantastic. He finally looked back on his game.
Yeah, he looked great. The defense did a really good job of really keeping Air Force out on the perimeter, and a lot of their shots are shots that McNaney is going to eat up 10 times out of 10. His last save before he left, about 9 minutes left in the game, made probably his best save of the game, a point-blank shot right at the crease, just kind of speared a quick stick in front, and it was a great save for him to make on his way out. But the defense was just, Air Force just couldn't crack them all game.
After all these years, what finally was his last game here on the national broadcast, they did a 5-minute piece on Logan. They interviewed his mother. They talked to him. They talked to Tills. They talked to everybody. So it's nice he's getting the recognition that he's supposed to get. Connie pointed out during the game that he's the 11th overall draft pick, and he'll be a Denver Outlaw next year.
It's good for him. Knowing, Logan's not the biggest guy, but really surprisingly athletic, knows the game super well, and unflappable.
And that's what Tills brought up. There were a couple games yesterday that Richmond, Carolina, I picked Richmond. I was surprised that Duke didn't put up more of a fight, but my goodness, you spend more time on this than I do. What's your take on those upsets? Were they actually upsets?
I think you're right about the Richmond game. That game may not have been upset. If you were to look at the RPI, which the selection committee uses to sort of bucket teams, Richmond's RPI was 8, UNC's was 9. So coming in, that really wasn't too much of a surprise. And the way Richmond's been playing so well, and UNC's been fading quite a bit. They've got 2 guys that take over 40% of their total shots. Makes it a little easier to game plan for a team like that. The Duke game was interesting. You would have thought that game would have been more of a 9-8, and you used the word fight. I think that's a really apt word to describe. Georgetown looked like they had more fight in them from the jump, and I thought Bruce and I were talking a couple days ago. We were thinking 9-8 kind of game, but not a 9-8 game, and Georgetown ran away with it.
Yeah, and Georgetown has won that game a couple years in a row, depending who they played. A couple of those games were at home, so to go to Duke, to see Carolina and Duke both lose the same day. But I want to go back to the end of the Georgetown game. Georgetown had the ball multiple times when Tillman would have taken a knee, so to speak, and Georgetown's just running down there and shooting. Is that strategy, or is that a mistake, or do you know any more than I do at this point?
I don't know. I mean, it was like, I don't think Georgetown looked like they'd ever seen a 10-man ride.
Yeah.
I mean, they looked like they were running around with their heads cut off. Just firing the ball all over the place and allowing Duke to get more and more possessions.
The only way they could have lost the game was to shoot, and they did.
Just kept doing it.
Well,
it was interesting. And right now, Syracuse is down 3-0 at home to Harvard in the first round. Ohio State loses to Notre Dame. So arguably we've got 4 seeded teams getting knocked out.
Right. Makes it a great tournament. As long as one of those is not Maryland, I'm happy. And it never really seemed like it got started today. Maryland just came
bad
out.
flow. I mean, Maryland had a good 20-25 minute stretch where everything was clicking.
Yeah.
Everything was clicking.
But
outside of that, real
but
weird.
It looked dominant.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, this...
Never threatening.
Yeah.
Never
wasn't
threatening
there
from the jump.
But I like seeing the Surface Academies make it. It does my heart good. I wish that Army would have found a way in. I was surprised that they didn't. And any final words for today?
Next week's going to be a lot of fun. That Annapolis site gets Notre Dame, Penn State, and gets Maryland, Georgetown.
It's a Final Four.
And, it's Penn State's got a large local fan base.
Yeah,
That's going to be a big
noticed.
crowd. It's going to be a big crowd. It should be fun.
Oh, it's
I don't
gonna
think
be
anyone.
great.
I don't think anyone there is going to be rooting for Notre Dame. I think a lot of Maryland fans who would never view themselves as rooting for Penn State will find themselves rooting for Penn State.
No, I am not.
It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a lot of fun. It should be 2 great games.
It should be. Looking forward to doing that with you, Bruce, Mason, the whole gang. Thanks to Connie for helping out today. That's Tony. I'm Wayne. We will see you from Annapolis. Maryland takes it. They move on. They're going to play for the Final Four a week from today. Good afternoon from College Park.